Hello, everyone. Welcome to Connections for Life. I'm Ted P.
I'm Chad Kuvo. Out here working on the meters.
I'm
And
tired.
defending myself.
I'm
And
tired.
defending myself, clearly.
I'm tired of you both.
I did, however, change my shower head out the other day in the bathtub.
With that?
I couldn't find anything else. So
What are you like? You work at an
It's
industrial?
a 4-inch. It's a 4-inch pipe coming into the shower head.
Jeez. Why do you have such a big pipe wrench to begin with?
I think it came in like one of those Harbor Freight tool like pipe wrench packs, and then I was like, "This is the only one I still have because it's so big."
You could have changed your shower head out by hand.
Right.
No, it was very corroded. We have hard water here in the Ohio river basin.
Okay. So a little rubber non-stick glove over your hand.
Or
I feel like that may have been a little overkill.
I feel like I'm in Street Fighter when you used to be able to pick this up off the street and hit people with.
Wasn't that double dragon?
Double dragon. You pick up the
dragon. Yes.
The barrels.
That's
have you
one of my
played that
all-time
lately?
favorite memories as a kid was the little handheld double dragon game that you would take with you in the cars.
I had Cubert. Love Cubert.
Oh, Cubert was hard actually when you got
it was hard. It's still hard. Have you guys played Double Dragon lately?
No,
I don't know. I don't feel like probably not.
The last video
Right,
game I played was at your house.
So I played it. I played it
With you.
relatively recently, within the last 12 months. I don't know where it was on, like one of those like simulators or emulators.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
It's
And the amount of time that we put into that game, it's horrific. I played for like 30 seconds, and I was like, "This game's."
I played for like 4 hours straight, especially because it
Yeah.
really didn't. It wasn't a game with a save point. I don't think, which was
No.
even stranger. It was one where like you died and they were like, "Oh, you can start over."
Here's another really bad game that like I know you all like played for hours. Is Contra.
I was just gonna say Contra. Lindsay still knows the code to get unlimited.
Up, down, left, right, BA, select, start.
Lindsay does the same thing.
Yeah,
somebody mentioned Contra, she just spits that out, and I'm like, okay, wow.
Up, down. Yeah. So that game's really bad too, and crazy hard now.
Yes,
like because the graphic, you're so used to things moving fast that you're like you want to like speed through, but it's like
you're used to being able to like now you're used to be able to shoot in a gun and it go like this. In that, it's like this.
Yeah. Or this.
There's somebody in between. Good luck.
You could lay down, jump, and then shoot in 3 different angles. Yeah.
That's great.
Anyways. Yeah.
Wow.
So how the hell do we get on that?
The pipe wrench story.
It doesn't seem like this would be a good thing. I mean, it would be okay to defend myself with, but it's really heavy. I'd rather go with something that I could be quicker with because I'm not really
you should
quick
just
as
be
it is.
stronger. Or get a smaller pipe wrench.
I'm gonna keep this next to my bed, I think, from now on.
Great. I'm sure that'll work out for everyone.
I'm gonna travel with this like Teddy does his slides.
His travel slides. So speaking of travel, anybody want to talk about last week or this week? What week was it? I don't even know.
I don't know what day.
A month ago?
Within the last week.
Yeah.
Last
A week
week at
today.
this time, Chad and I were getting ready to pull into Washington, D.C.
I was already there.
I wasn't. I was still 3.5 hours away.
Now you got there
getting ready. You said getting ready.
Cum sa.
Yeah, I was already there. So we were in DC last week for the American Public Gas Association Legislative Summit. That was fun.
It was awesome.
It was really cool. It was at the Phoenix Hotel in downtown DC. We stayed at the Hilton, which was like
around
Beirut.
But like it was like the hotels like backed up to each other essentially.
They did.
Yeah.
There was a parking garage.
You had to walk 7 minutes.
Yeah. Somehow Teddy walked 7 minutes and lost half his foot on his new shoes.
You don't want to see my calf right now.
I don't want to see
my heel. Excuse me. You don't want to see my heel right now.
If you hurt your calf by wearing shoes, you got bigger problems.
All boots.
So no, I mean it was fun. We had some downtime on Monday. We had meetings on Monday morning, or I did anyways, and then we had some fun on Monday afternoon. It was like 60 degrees and sunny and a cloud in the sky.
Pretty.
So we zoomed around like idiots all over DC on scooters, Lime scooter,
cool.
Lime, little shout out to Lime scooters. Which
The setup
was pretty
was way
cool.
easier
We went
than we thought it was going to be.
We went to the Washington Monument, we went to Capitol, we went to White House, we went to the Smithsonian. right? So that was fun. We kind of did a little
we did.
roundabout tour.
We saw like
all of
So,
it.
everything in that area you could see, really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and if
it's
anybody's
fun.
like been apprehensive about getting those scooters, like don't be. They're amazing, especially
Yeah.
when you're in a city and you need to get around. There's nothing better. So
People are scared to ride them, like Teddy.
yeah, I mean, but they're so fun.
I mean, Teddy's was slower than ours, but yeah.
he was losing power.
He did
So-
get one with
I got the lowest battery.
one slice of lime left.
He had one lime wedge. But no, it was fun. We had a good
Flashing
time.
red
We
and
got,
beeping.
we got to see Stuart and Aaron and a whole bunch Jim Shower
The
and
Colonel.
Man, you know, that was let me just stop on that for a sec. That was my first APGA event. And I was just the people that are there that are, especially at those legislative meetings, they're real decision makers at some of the smaller and larger, you know,
that's how the
public
APGA
gas
events
utilities
are.
and very close knit. I mean, the crazy part is if you participate on a committee, like, wait, there was no registration fee. Like, how many places in the gas world to go to a meeting is there no registration fee? That's like the truth. Even
They award you for being active as in the industry. Like that's the
which is
part
kind of
about
cool.
that
That's
association.
that's definitely a kind of a breath of fresh air to me, because a lot of the places that you go are like, yep, we'll take your $50 for lunch, your 200 for this, and your 50 for this. So
I
really
mean,
neat.
not taking anything away from anybody else, but I think a
No.
lot of gas associations could learn something from how APGA runs their things. They do a very good job. The meetings were extremely informative. The content was really good. The things that people are working on is amazing. And I just was really, as always, but you know, really impressed with what they got going on down there. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we went.
And then I think you guys kind of went before me, but Stuart, certainly a good friend of the show, obviously, but he took the time to take us up on Capitol Hill and see our Congress people. So that was incredible. Something I probably never anticipated myself ever doing in my life. I don't know, you know what I mean? I didn't even think they'd let
We
me
never
in the
anticipated
building.
seeing you in a suit like that as well.
No, I did look nice. It was probably the nicest I've ever looked in my entire life.
I don't ever expect it again, because now it's probably got a mustard stain or something on it.
Definitely probably does. I haven't looked at it. I didn't want to
It's a
check
one-time use for you, but no, I think it was cool. Capitol Hill was interesting. Like, we got to, for those of you that don't know, and I didn't, like when you go into the buildings where their offices are, like senators and congressmen, things like that, there's you could just walk in.
Yeah,
As
No
long,
one's like,
as long as you don't have a gun or a bomb, you're
yeah,
cool.
like you just
Or
go
a
through
knife, you're
security,
cool.
like TSA, and then you can literally
Not
walk
even
into the building.
TSA. It's like nationwide arena.
Yeah, it's like going to a concert.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know. That was cool. We got to meet Teddy and I got to meet some staffers for Brandon Williams. We got to meet Claudia Tenney and her staffers, and it was really awesome. I know Chad got Mike Carey, his Congress.
Well, he got moved in redistricting at the beginning of the month. But
yeah.
So I mean, it was just neat to be able to talk to people, and really, at the end of the day, they're just really like super down to earth, normal people. And I think that was the really coolest thing.
Very busy, very fast moving.
Yep.
You can see that. Yeah, I don't think you have a choice. You know, just interesting to sit down and talk, you know, energy.
Maybe one day we can get one of them to come on this bootleg program. I know
You said a bad word again. We're leaving that one in. We're not telling
I don't care.
anybody.
It's off the rails. Which is what
we're not telling anybody that's in there. Nobody's seeing it anyways.
We have 1,257 followers as of this morning, though. I didn't notice that.
Probably one of them might see it.
Maybe.
Well, if anybody saw it, comment. If you did not, we're just going to assume no one's watching. That's it. Let's move on from that.
Swear
I
word.
don't know. It was pretty. Last thing I'll say, it was really impactful, and thanks again to Stuart. I mean, Stuart did a big part in helping us set up. Teddy got the chance. Whoa, to meet with his buddy, who's a Maine congressman. He was in the Marines with you, right?
Yeah, we served and deployed together in 2000.
That's awesome.
To Afghanistan.
Why doesn't he come on the show?
He'll come on the show.
All right,
because he's smart.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Is he smart?
He's a Democrat. We won't pepper him too much.
He's what do they call? What the colonel call him? A
blue nose.
Blue nose.
Blue nose.
Blue nose. So
that's a really. That sounds derogatory. Like that's not like.
Or like you're a pitbull.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what that's what I
not
think
derogatory. I got one.
I don't think that's what they're comparing it to.
No, I don't think so either. But hey,
no.
But he
I think it's saying that your nose is blue like Democrats,
thanks,
you're
Joe.
everywhere else. You know, I'm just saying.
I thought it was because. Never mind.
Stop.
Go ahead, Teddy. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, Chad, do the intro.
Wait a
No.
minute.
Rude?
Bleh.
No, it was good. It was great. Jared's a blue nose, what they call blue nose Democrat. He's got a foot on both sides of the aisle, I'll say, with his
He's not coming on now because you
thing.
just called him a blue nose.
He's there's actually like a group of them.
Really?
The blue noses?
Yeah.
That'd be
Blue
great
nose
if they walked in
Democrats.
the
There's
Congress
like 8 or
with
12
blue,
of them or
like,
something
neat.
like that are considered the blue nose, and they're the ones who tend to vote against party lines.
I'm sure they're real popular.
Isn't it crazy though that Maine is a fair? I mean, it's not a huge state. Don't get me wrong, but it's a decent sized state. There's only two congressmen.
Two congressional districts.
And I know it's
think there's
based
that
on
many people that
population. I
live
get
there.
it, but it's still just.
It's funny though, because like when we were talking about that and we were in his office and we looked at where he lives in the second congressional district is basically like the southmost point of it, and for him to get to the northmost point of his district is 6-hour drive straight.
It's like Bill Murray.
Yeah.
It's like Adam.
Yeah.
All right, we will move on. Sorry, I wanted to touch on those couple things.
Beaten to death.
It was great. It was great.
What else do you want to talk about?
Well, we can go into our gas fact.
Oh, sorry, I put my wrench down.
Please.
See if I can find the background. I haven't used it in a while.
Gas. I'll just do this thing.
I haven't used it in a while.
The gas fact background.
Oh, that's not it.
Fact of gas. Did you guys hear about Niagara Falls this morning?
There's
There
an
was
earthquake.
At Niagara Falls?
At Niagara Falls.
It was a little one.
They're definitely going to blame that on
4.2 in certain
fracking
spots.
somehow.
3.8 for the majority, but 4.
Definitely blaming that on fracking.
I don't know if that's it wasn't in Niagara Falls, was it?
No, I'm saying in Niagara Falls, like the
area.
Niagara Falls.
Wow, that's a small area, actually.
Yeah.
There was a bigger one in Turkey that's a little bit more newsworthy. That was 7.8.
I don't know.
Big.
Having an earthquake in New York is kind of newsworthy.
That's different. It's not
really. I mean, it happens occasionally, but like I read something that says in the last 280 years since they've been recording, there's been 550.
Before the gas act, have you guys
in
ever
New York.
been in an earthquake? Like I don't mean like where buildings fell down, but where you felt it in the ground.
Yeah. I was in Upsco one time and we had one. We were
I've had
upstairs.
two. I've had two of them.
Hold on. Can we talk about I call it whatever you want, but I've never even heard of an earthquake in New York.
No, so
in New York. All right.
So maybe
in my lifetime.
But they aren't
They
big.
haven't.
They're not
small.
like they're not like earth shattering, like earth. You know what I mean? So
Like a lot of them you wouldn't even feel.
I had
No,
one
one
in
in
Virginia.
Upstate.
One happened in Virginia, but I was in Philadelphia, lived there, and I was in my basement and I felt it. And then the other time, Lindsay and I were on our way back from Jamaica, and we were sitting in a lounge in the Jamaican airport, and the whole building started to like move. And I said to Lindsay, we were in the basement, so it didn't feel that much, but I was like, "That's an earthquake," and she's like, "No way!" I'm like, "I'm telling you, in 10 minutes, somebody's going to say there was an earthquake."
You can tell.
Yeah, you're just because it gives you motion sick. You get like motion sick.
It's
like,
weird. It's like your head's like it's like I don't get motion sick at all, but like it's the only way I can explain it is it's like you ever be in a car. You guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but you ever be in a car and next to somebody and they start to roll like
that's
forward,
exactly
you get that,
what it's
that
like.
split second of like, am I moving?
Did I not?
Right,
Am I not
like
parked?
that's how it feels.
So 2002 Christmas night, Afghanistan.
Neither night.
Afghanistan 2002, roof of the U.S. Embassy in Kabul. I'm in my DM sniper post on the corner of the embassy there, right? And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden everything starts to shake, and we're like, "Knock it off, you idiots!" We thought some of our fellow Marine guys were outside, like messing with our
Yeah.
shelter, our post, right? And I go outside, and like the radio chatter starts to go nuts. I go outside and I look, and there's like nobody out there, and I go to like move our this is a reinforced sandbag bunker, basically, on the corner. It didn't go anywhere. But we had an earthquake, and everything went crazy in Afghanistan at the time. It was nuts.
So Teddy, just so you know,
Yep.
the earthquake information from New York, there are 416 earthquake incidents in New York on record since 1931. The state averages 5 earthquakes a year.
Okay. I've never heard of us having one in New York.
Most of them are so small that you wouldn't even like know. It's not like let's see.
Thank you, Google Joe. That's our gas fact for the week. It's New York earthquake.
Like 2.6.
So today was being 4.2 was.
I read 3.8.
3.8 to 4.2 in the high spot. They said that. At least that's what my wife told me this morning.
Thank you.
Google wife.
Thank you,
Google
Eileen.
wife. Google wife. Google Eileen. Don't
All
call
right.
it.
What is our actual gas fact?
It was, however, the strongest earthquake in 40 years.
Say, okay.
Great. Maybe
Right.
New York's gonna fall into the ocean.
What if Niagara Falls just collapsed?
I don't think it works like that.
I don't think so either, but what if it did?
What if it just got higher? My computer's now frozen, so
So we don't have a gas fact now.
yes, I do.
Oh, all right.
So you guys know that electricity and electrification is getting pushed pretty heavily, and natural gas is the, everybody's
Shock.
banning. Everyone likes it. It's the worst thing in the world that's ever happened. Just with the current market conditions, so it's there's been a larger disparity basically in gas versus electric pricing, because electric continues to be more and more, much more expensive, especially in the winter. But with current market pricing in the Northeast United States, using electricity costs blank and its times as much as natural gas for the same number of BTUs.
Is it
So-
multiple choice or no?
It can be if you'd like.
3.
1.75, 3, 2.5, or 4.5.
Oh, 3.
I'm going 2.5 because we're going to go under without going over.
It's 4.5.
Wow.
So for the same amount of BTUs, natural gas is 4.5 times cheaper than electricity right now in the current United States. Like, obviously that changes and things.
Yeah, no, I get it. But even if it was 3, you're like, whoa. That's
4.5 times.
wow.
I saw this. I was listening to this podcast coming home from dropping my kids off this morning at school, and this lady was doing a breakdown on the actual cost of an electric vehicle versus combustion engine, right? And when you factored in everything, every component of it, you're talking the petroleum bearer in the windshield and every aspect of it, right? A combustion engine vehicle is like 47 times greener than a EV.
It's
just crazy.
I'm just wondering what
Absolutely
they're
crazy.
doing with all these batteries and stuff.
Well, that's the thing, because that's where a big multiplying factor of it was in the recyclability of it. You know what I mean?
Well,
like you can reuse a lot of parts on a car that is combustion engine, but you can't reuse a lot of an electric vehicle.
No, the batteries are basically done.
I
have a question about that though. I wonder
comparison.
I wonder if like trading in an electric vehicle would be like, if people would even want it.
This is my thing's gonna be crazy. That I don't understand why at some point the world just didn't go with the old, if this is the way it was going, just put in, especially in downtowns and things like that, they had the old electric cars, you know what I mean? Like where you had electric on the bottom and the top, and because that's as rudimentary as this is.
Because it would be killing
electric
people.
vehicle was actually before the first combustion engine.
It still doesn't matter. It still doesn't matter if there's an electric vehicle or if there's an electric car, if there's an electric anything, because the power comes from
natural gas
coming from coal back then.
Yeah.
Now it's coming from natural gas or something else, potentially renewable, but not that big of a number. But it doesn't matter. Like people just assume that it's electric, it's clean.
They said California is the highest state of ratio of electric cars in the country, right? Where 18% of the vehicles in California are electric vehicles. But as a nation overall, we are at 3%.
Yeah.
So 3% of all the vehicles are electric. We're having grid struggles with 3% of all vehicles being electric.
California can't keep, they have brownouts, they can't have no power. And then people are like, oh, wonder why, but let's go buy electric cars. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. I guarantee in the summer they're going to tell me you can't charge your car because, I just want to point out in 2022, Chevy,
small little company just getting started.
Chevy sold the most vehicles in the United States last year. Chevy, and they weren't EVs. Okay, I just want to point that out. So I know that that's the way that we want to go, but until there's a way to create electricity that's not through a fossil fuel, this is just making it worse.
You're just making it worse. We're actually wasting,
you're losing efficiency. Yeah, it's ridiculous that people don't understand that. But whatever, we can belabor that point forever.
Great gas fact, Joe. Well done.
That was a very
Thanks.
good gas fact. It created some very good talking points and
Dialogue and conversation. If somebody watches the show, they might find it informative.
yeah, they stopped after he said the bad word earlier. Though.
Let's get our guest on because that's really what only.
Oh, that's a good point.
Oh yeah. So Chad, who do we have joining us today?
Today is Carolyn Amon from Deloitte.
I don't think it's said like that.
Amon.
I don't think it's pronounced
Amon.
like that.
How?
Amon?
I'm sorry.
It's Amon.
Hey, he was the one who rolled the dice and was willing to do the intro. So
Oh, I'm not picking on him. I just was trying to get it right.
She's the manager of energy resources and industrials at Deloitte. We kind of quiz her on what Deloitte does because they do pretty much a little bit of everything in every
They
space.
have like 7 billion employees, and I'm still not sure really what they do.
She's been there for about 5 years. Before that, she was the vice president of trade and energy at IAS Group. So she's very involved in the Washington D.C. stuff that's going on, just like we've been talking about. She was actually a referral from Stuart. Man, we would probably record this about a month ago, and we've just been all over.
yeah.
But just a wealth of knowledge. She wrote this cool paper on how we have to change how to grow essentially the workforce in the natural gas utility industry, which is pretty interesting. She can definitely talk about it better than I can. So
Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. So
Eddie.
Without further ado, welcome to the show, Carolyn Amon. Hello, Carolyn, and welcome to Connections for Life. How are you?
Good. Very nice in this pre-holiday week.
yeah, thank you for gracing us with your presence this early to Christmas. I didn't think people were still working except us. So
Yeah, well, this is the one thing that's going on.
you look awfully comfortable in that chair, though. So I don't know.
I decided since it's holiday, I wanted to get into that comfort mode,
I got you. Well, I didn't. So,
I'm trying to
so
read what book she has back there. That's what I was trying
yeah,
to do.
let's zoom
Yeah,
in
there's
on
some
her.
there should be some energy ones back there.
I like that.
I haven't read any of these.
Set this.
Also very close to the chair.
This is actually a background. This isn't like fake, but the books I know nothing.
Mine is also a real background.
Well, we got 2 things in common. All right, so without further ado, I'm gonna use Teddy's word. You work for Deloitte, and I guess we'll get you started where we start everybody, and kind of how you got your start in the industry, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, so before Deloitte, I worked for a boutique consulting firm here in the DC area, and we were working a lot on competitiveness issues with industrial customers like steel manufacturers domestically and ones abroad too. And the 2 big issues were trade and then energy. So that's sort of how I got my start. And then I got really interested in the energy issues. So then I just wanted to 100% focus on that. And so, I got involved in local, professional organizations that, focus on energy. And then through that, got this job at Deloitte.
So really quick, just because like it's you kind of jump-started your career in the energy industry as a consulting firm. How did you know that that's kind of what you wanted to do, or did you just kind of fall into that?
Well, I did international relations, which is a delightfully vague, all-encompassing field. And, a lot of those issues that I got into, just even in my studies,
Sure.
A lot of them came back to energy, right? It's sort of one of those keystone geopolitical issues. And
Right.
So when you started, you said more on the steel side, right? Like a steel pipe, or is that what it was? Steel pipe, essentially?
Yep. Steel manufacturers and build pipe as well. And I feel that, the issues have come full circle because now
Seriously.
you've seen in the news right now, they're discussing carbon adjustable border taxes, right, on steel and other products. So it's the 2 issues continue to be very closely intertwined, as
That's wild. How do you went to George Washington for your bachelor's? How do you even make that decision at that time to go international affairs or international relations? I mean, I assume you were an 18-year-old kid or 19, somewhere around there. Like she
started when she was 6.
Yeah, she's very advanced.
Yes, very early age. Well, actually, yeah. Well, so I grew up in France, and my mom's Polish, my dad's American. So I was kind of steeped in that international aspect.
That'll do it.
A young age, yeah. And the school I went to was an international school, so we had people from all over the world. And I mean, so that was my normal, actually. So I was just trying to maintain my normal
That's really neat.
When did you move to the US?
for college. So my dad, who is
Oh.
American, said, "You are not missing out on the American college experience. It is way better than if you stay here and live with us while you go to school. Trust me." So I followed.
So you
suit.
lived in France all the way till college.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I
this
missed it, so
sounds
then I
really-
went back for my.
Okay, this is gonna sound really like dumb American talking, but how you don't have any accent whatsoever, like none.
Well, like I said, my dad is American, so I did, and
You're
then
around
Grew up dual.
Well, she grew up
When-
speaking. I mean, how many
when
languages?
I came back, though, people asked me where I was from all the time. And in college, I had the nickname Frenchie, so clearly I was speaking in
Okay.
Europe. So it's
So-
over time.
Teddy was on to how many languages you speak, right, Teddy? What were you saying?
Yeah, like I mean, you
Yeah.
We know.
obviously grew
French,
up.
English, Polish, Russian, Italian. So those
I speak
That's
one.
all? Not real good either.
I
Sadly.
dabbled in Chinese too, but
Oh,
Dabbled
man,
in
I can't even
That's
imagine
crazy.
that.
Was that part of like the studies at an international program? That was it required that you'd have to take all these languages, or was that just something that you were interested in?
it was something I was interested in. But it's what we all did at my
It was
school.
taught,
it was normal,
Sure.
right? So
Which is pretty crazy.
Everyone-
So I have what may be a dumb question too. How do you decide to go to George Washington? Like if you're in Paris or France or wherever you were, if you're in France, how do you pick GW? I mean, that's pretty, I assume you had visited, I would hope. Like,
yeah, I went on a tour. I liked that it was, I wanted to go somewhere that was, again, pretty international. So a school that's in a city
that's really cool.
where I'd be able to, there are a lot of international organizations. So, I was able to work while I was going to school and just go to all these events, a lot of embassies in the area. So it just
Sure.
like a pretty.
Was it hard for you when you first came over, like the culture shift, and was it super different?
Yeah, I had the reverse culture shock because, I came back thinking, okay, I'm American,
Yeah.
this is home. And then, like I
Right.
said, I was Frenchies for a while. So
Had you been to the States like growing up, and like because your father's from the US? Had you been?
yeah.
Okay.
We came
So-
back every summer to
Oh, that's awesome.
Gotcha. Okay. Really
Yeah.
cool.
Well,
Anyway,
you
sorry.
said- then
we
you
got kind of
hang on. I have one
Go
more
ahead, go
because then you went on to your master's and went back overseas, correct?
Yeah. So I was working at, International Advisory Services Group, and I was applying for a grant. And in the process, I found out about this program. And it was a 1-year master's program that the EU had set up. And basically the condition is you have to speak the language of what, of the country you choose to study. And you could choose three different universities, 3 different countries. So I thought that sounded like a really great program. So I applied, and, my boss at the time said, all right, fine, go do it. And, I continued working on the side partly.
Where did you go? Fill us in.
So I went to the UK and University of Bath, and then the University of Siena in Italy. And then I ended up at Sciences Po in Paris. So
Wow.
it was,
I haven't been out of the country that much.
I've been to Paris and everything.
Yeah, no one likes a bragger shit.
Sorry. I feel like
You can't even
Wow,
speak any of the language you've been there.
no.
Anyways,
everyone speaks English, right? So that's the thing.
Yeah, that is
is
one
the
thing you
lingua
find out when you
franca, so-
travel is everybody knows a little bit of English everywhere.
Right. So there's less of a need.
it's
But I
much as-
how to
just
ask
love
for-
languages. Like I love
Dad knows
languages.
how to ask for wine in 7 different languages.
yeah, and
Yeah.
bathroom. Anyways, I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole because we'll get
That's
a million
interesting.
questions. You're with Deloitte Services now, and you do marketing insights. Or market insights? Is that what it's called? Market
Yeah,
insights.
so Deloitte has a bunch of research centers. There's a Deloitte Center for Energy and Industrial, so that's the one I'm in. And we do research, develop thought leadership on energy issues, and I in particular focus on power utilities and renewables.
So what
and
does
then that
Deloitte do
decarbonization.
as like an organization? What is Deloitte? 'Cause
How
I've
do they
never
make
heard of them.
revenue? essentially?
Everything.
Everything?
It's #1 global professional services company. So pretty much anything you can think of, Deloitte.
How many employees do you have?
Hundreds of thousands, like
Oh,
across the world.
I know that I've heard of Deloitte. I never really, it's one of those names that like you see and you just don't really identify with because you don't cross paths with it.
Yeah.
I guess specifically as Chad kind of asked, how does Deloitte, like, how do you make revenue? Like, how do they fuel the machine?
Well, they have a lot of different departments. So there's tax, there's audit, there's advisory, right? Just
So
consulting.
they all operate like consulting
Well,
firms?
services, consulting.
So
services.
consulting is just one of the four, right? So there's, again,
Okay.
you know, all the other functions too. And so some companies just, you know, need one, you know, maybe there's a consulting project for one company, maybe another one needs tax and advisory and right and consulting. So it can be one or several types.
So what's like a typical day for you look like?
Typical day for me is that, well, I keep abreast of the latest developments in the sector, and we try to do a lot of primary research too for our reports and the decks we do, and just, you know, what would be of greatest interest to executives in the field. You know, what are things that they should be aware of, and how can we, you know, bring value to
Well,
those
I'll
things.
ask the next question, Chad, because I sat and watched. Well, I downloaded the report that you did,
Right.
which is natural gas utility workforce in a decarbonizing world, right?
Mhm.
It's 25 pages. I made it through 13. So back to myself.
Good, you
I
got
read
this.
one whole page out of the 25 as I
Wow,
read
good for
through
you.
it.
That's
I
also
probably
good.
got like a whole page.
There are a lot of
Yeah.
pictures too, so.
But that's what helped me. That's the only thing that made me get through 13, because
Well,
I
if
didn't
you
know.
look at the figures and you get the whole story, right?
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you came out with that report recently. Explain basically what that report covers and you know, kind of what's behind it.
Yeah, well, so we have this decarbonization series. So we started a few years ago looking at decarbonization strategies for utilities, and then the technologies, and then the workforce implications. And so when we were looking at the workforce side, and this was on the power side, we got to know CWD, Missy Henriksen. So that's the Center for Energy Workforce Development. And so we worked closely with them on that report. And when that came out, the American Gas Association, American Public Gas Association, approached CWD and said, well, why don't we work together on something that focuses on the gas industry? Because, you know, what specifically are the decarbonization pathways for gas and the workforce, you know, changes that would be needed to prepare for that future. So that's how we started this project.
It's really interesting, because I mean, as I went through this, like a couple of things that I noticed, and I keep glancing over here because it's on my other monitor, so it's not that I'm not looking at you. But out of all the things that utilities, I think the greatest opportunity is, that for me, it was the pipeline modernization was the largest sector where they thought that's where they would need workforce, right? Like in that sector.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the question I had about that, because I know about this much of like RNG and hydrogen, so like I think it's kind of, when I read through this, I don't really fully understand it. I'll be the first to admit that. But I guess what I got out of your report is that, you know, the vast majority of the workforce is going to be dedicated or needed in kind of like that pipeline worker field. It's not an executive. It's not an even mid-career or mid-range. It's literally the boots on the ground. Is that correct? Did I see that properly? Did I?
Yeah, that's how we saw it too, which is why
Okay.
we were, I mean, there will be changes required everywhere, but we looked specifically at those core roles that are specific to the industry.
Yeah.
So the plant operators, pipeline workers, you know, because that's the core workforce, right? That's
But isn't that maybe you don't know this, but isn't that the case in every aspect of everywhere in life? The boots on the ground are the ones that do the majority of the work, versus
or the most needed, but the less
or the most needed. Exactly. You know, if you look into, you know, the construction industry as a vague industry, the majority of the work for a multi-million-dollar building is done by the worker bees, and then inhabited by the few. It's just it's a strange concept that it's only strange because it's so simple. It makes the most sense. But
how long did it take you to do this report? Like, just out of curiosity, like how long did you
yeah, she did it in about 15 minutes.
Half hour.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the process, it's a lot. It took probably, you know, about a year overall from that very first conversation to the very end, because we were working together with CWD, with AGA, with APGA. And so CWD has its members, AGA has its members, APGA has its members. So like it was a lot of stakeholder right, management. So we just, had to all get on the same page and be aligned and agree on the questions, the survey questions we were going to ask, what types of analysis we were going to do, and just, make sure we all move together. So it's slower than if it's just one
Yeah,
organization.
if it's just one person.
So
Yeah.
typically
One of
we
the
faster, but this one we wanted to make sure it was we were all doing, together on it.
Yeah. You don't want to put out something and one of them go, well, we didn't really agree with it.
Right.
One of the things that I thought was also interesting is that on one of the pages you have a map of the United States, and it lists, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but you kind of color coded the states based on who's adopted or introduced bans for natural gas.
Yeah.
And then who has adopted or introduced prohibit what's it
pro RNG, like
that are like, and it's way the other way, right? Like there's only a few states, of course the one I live in is one of them, that has actually fully adopted bans on new natural gas connections. But the one thing that I found that was unique is that almost every state is involved with hydrogen hub bids.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Is that because all that money's going into it? Like, I'm just wondering, because isn't that a government like finance type of thing that the hydrogen is, or not? Is that not part of the infrastructure? But I don't know. I'm just kind of asking for.
Yeah, it's the Department of Energy has billions of dollars out there, to help support building out these hubs, and so many states are involved because they see all of the big, workforce, especially opportunities, right, to develop the whole new infrastructure for industries of the future. So if you look ahead and you're looking at decarbonization options, and hydrogen is going to be a part of that.
Sure.
Right, the states that get that build out that infrastructure are going to have a huge leg up, and same thing for the utilities, right? So that's why we highlighted also that actually not that many utilities are necessarily closely involved with these bids. So they should get in on that, because they'll be playing an integral role, especially the gas utilities. So if we looked at the survey, right, where they're saying that they see pipeline modernization and expansion as great opportunities, well, how are you going to, seize those opportunities? You have to be part of a hub, right, and have that funding. And
but does that funding cover, like, so the way I understand it, in my rudimentary understanding of it, is that if we're going to use hydrogen or RNG, but let's stick with hydrogen. If we're going to use hydrogen is a smaller molecule. It needs a much more secure delivery method than the one that we currently have.
Right.
So does that money that comes from the Department of what is it? What did you say? DOE, the Department of Energy. That money that comes from them, is that also being able to be utilized for pipeline integrity? So because you're going to use the same pipelines that you're using now, correct? Go ahead, Chad.
I can you go back and just explain to me, because I don't really understand why it's more unstable. Maybe not the chemical wise, but what do you mean by that? Like, if it leaks, you're going to have more problems than natural gas.
No. So first of all, the way I understand, I think hydrogen is more explosive. It's dangerous. Yeah. And we have a system right now where we have methane leaks. We all know that, right? That's no secret. So they have to boost up and I think, and I'm not sure about this, and Carolyn, you may know, but
you messed it up. See, you couldn't help it.
So I knew I was gonna do that. You may know this though. I think, Chad, that the molecules are so much smaller, like than gas or methane, that the system, like gasketing and valves and things like that, need to be replaced, because it's so small, it'll go through those things.
You think it's one of the reasons why we're putting such pressure on them, other than the methane leaks, but that repair stuff too in the country?
I don't know. I think the question, back to what I was originally asking.
Sorry. Thank you for that though.
Does the money come from like those hydrogen? I know there's that hydrogen, the big, like, we got to research it. We got to make sure, and we got to inject it in the system. We got to use it at a certain percentage to make sure it's safe. I get all that. But does that money also, is it going to gas utilities and municipalities to be able to upgrade their pipelines, which is where you've identified the most amount of work comes from, right? The biggest opportunity for workforce. Would make sense they'd be utilizing that money to be able to pay to upgrade the system. So when it actually becomes a reality, their systems are robust enough, A, to handle it, but B, also to reduce the methane leaks in the current system.
Right. And that's where like the PIMSA grants, right, come in as well, right, is to help. Yeah. So if the utilities are, so that's where the decarbonization becomes an opportunity, because if you're just saying we're, plugging leaks. I mean, that's one thing. But if you tie
Sure.
it to decarbonization, preparing for hydrogen, then that opens whole new world of grant support,
Yeah.
right?
So that money
And
is being allocated or will be or
there
could be
is definitely
allocated.
a lot of, yes, there is a lot of funding for these types of projects. And if you look at one of the technologies we highlighted in the report is the cross compression, right? That's
Yeah.
right now, is it's a decarbonization technology, right? But when we were talking to, the folks who are, involved in that, they haven't necessarily prepared yet for, well, how is this going to be used when they're hydrogen blends? What are the implications? How do we need to tighten it because it's a smaller molecule? And so we're going to have to train people a bit differently, maybe tweak the
Right.
technology. And that's still all this gray area that has, or I guguess white space.
I think it's just interesting. I mean, first of all, this report's really good. And I all kidding aside, I did make it through 13 pages, and it wasn't because I was unable to. I literally just was interested in trying to digest the stuff that I'd read prior to coming on to make sure that I fundamentally understood what was in your documents. And I think it's really cool. Is there there's obviously this one's closed. What are you potentially working on now?
As the next what's
the next paper going to be called?
The next one, well, you'll have to stay tuned for that. I'm happy to come back onto your show to talk about
All right, perfect. Be careful what you ask for, I promise.
But yeah, a lot of it follows on,
This.
looking at, we're going to get all the themes that you see here, we are going to continue working on. So hydrogen, other, decarbonization technologies, workforce implications, like this is a line of research that will continue
Forever.
Awesome.
forever until we completely decarbonize, which is.
Do you think it's realistic?
Yes, because it's an imperative at some point, right? Whether it's smooth or not, that's a separate question. But
I guess I shouldn't say I meant that in terms of like I think that I agree with you. I think the problem is that I think we've set some unrealistic timeframes, and I don't know if those timeframes are going to be achievable, and I don't know if people are going to see that as a failure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just, as someone who's covered the industry for a while, that's always been sort of the counter narrative for, say, renewables, right? But then if you look at, if you looked every year, the graphs showing the cost curves for solar and wind, and then you look at reality, the reality was actually better than the projections, right? The cost curves came down much faster than people projected. And now solar and wind are the cheapest source of energy. So, if you look at the gas industry, we'll probably see similar cost curves because of all the funding that's coming from the government, from the IRA, from the hydrogen hubs, all that,
See, I think you're optimistic. I'm
yes, I'm optimistically hoping we'll see similar cost curves.
No, I don't even know if it's a cost thing. I think it's a technology thing. And I think we're trying to shove a lot of things into an area of that we're just not ready to shove yet. And we've created unrealistic expectations, maybe for people that aren't engaged in the industry or fully understand what it means to get there. Your average person that you talk to on the street, they have no idea. They hear buzzwords, they have terms, and they have these, oh, we're not going to use gas in 5 years or 10 years, whatever the case may be, because it's bad. I think your document, your paper really eloquently points out that it's necessary to have a lot of different options and a lot of different solutions to get to carbon decarbonization or carbon neutral. And I think it does a heck of a job doing that. I feel like a lot of people in the United States, at least, don't fully understand what that means or what it may mean for their lifestyle, which, is a whole different topic, which would take up another hour of this. But I don't know. I was really interested in it. And I think that fundamentally I agree with you on most things. Some things I don't. I'm not going to lie to you. It's just kind of the way it goes.
So I know we've been hammering this, and I don't know if there's much more to this answer to this question than you can provide.
This is going to be written in stone. This is truth right here, Teddy.
But I think we've already kind of hit it. But where do you see the future of this industry going? I mean,
decarbonized.
Basically we've been covering it. But is there anything else that we didn't cover in the last 20 minutes of the future that you see coming down the pipe?
Yeah, well, I just, to have the most resilient energy system, you need
Absolutely.
electrons and
Big
clean
word,
molecules.
like that word. Love the word
Right.
resilient.
And so if, the utilities that are really ahead of the curve, in decarbonizing, they will be the ones leading that, role for the gas industries, and they'll be transporting RNG mixed with hydrogen, and be part of the solution. And by being seen as a first move and part of the solution for decarbonization, they'll also be able to attract the workforce and sort of get in on these new industries and be able to grow. So
I think that's a great point.
huge opportunity.
No, that's a great point. I think that a lot of people, we talk about it a lot, is that, I mean, I think it's just like anything else. Like people don't typically set out to be working, for an electric company or a gas utility or a water company, you know what I mean? And I think that it's a hard time recruiting people because
it's an incredible career.
It's a great career. It's an awesome, and that just doesn't get translated. And I think that there's a lot more opportunity for people in different sectors and different things right now than there ever has been. But I think the energy industry as a whole and does a really pretty bad job of, recruiting and helping. There's a lot of bright people that probably go different areas because they don't even know that the industry really exists or it's something that there's a career in. So I think it's admirable that you guys are in like the Center for Workforce Development. All the people that are engaged in that world are putting time and energy into that because I've been here for 12 years, Teddy. What, 5, 6?
No, 4.5.
4.5 feels like 12. Chad, what, 20 something, it's been a good career for all of us, and it's something that I think we all appreciate and enjoy, and I wish a ton of luck in what you guys are doing. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's the industry at the heart of decarbonization. It's what's going to allow everyone else to achieve their targets. So it's really where the action is. I think it's the most fascinating industry to be in.
It's very cool. Yeah, I look forward to more. It's like more of your papers. Is that what you call them? I don't know. What
our reports, our thought leadership.
Reports. Thought leadership. There you go. I'm really bad at it. I don't know what to call things. Back to my only knowing one language badly. So
listen, Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you coming on the show. From the bottom of our hearts, it was tremendous having you on. I know I sat here, it was quiet most of the time while you and Joe discussed everything that I'm sitting here for.
Happens.
I took it in.
You're taking notes.
I took notes,
but
as usual.
Chad did.
Yeah.
So
anyways,
Well, thank you so much for having you on your podcast, which
I was just going to ask you before you leave. Are you going to be at the APGA committee meetings? Are you going to be around during that time period, the end of January? I don't know if that's something. It's in DC, so I didn't know if that was something that you were
well, if it's in DC, I may pop by.
All right, yeah, it's in DC. So we'll shoot you a message or something, maybe get together, have a conversation in person. It'd be great.
Yeah, that would be great.
Cool. Awesome.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Great
Bye-bye.
podcast. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Carolyn, thank you so much for that informative information about your organization and for answering all of the questions that Joe peppered at you while Chad and I stood there looking confused.
It wasn't just me. You guys just didn't read her paper.
I did, actually.
Well, you don't remember things.
Well, they can't all be winners.
Why are there graduation caps, Chad?
I don't know. I just felt like it was fun back.
Why is there an eye stock image? That's something you never will get to do.
I have just high school.
I
do have an associate's degree too. But
when you got your GED, you threw it. Threw your hat out the window.
We didn't call it GED then.
I wonder how many people, like, honest, I'm sorry to switch off this. Let me go back to this. Carolyn, thank you.
Yes.
We know we recorded you a while ago. It took us a little while with the holidays and everything else going on to get this actual video out. But thank you for being on. Thank you for telling us what you do, explaining it a little bit better. And I think I level with you. I'm still a little unsure of what Deloitte does, but I guess it's important stuff. So.
It's a great way to put it, Joe.
They do everything. Literally,
that's what I mean. Like, I don't know. Like, you can look online and you can read for hours and you still are like, I don't really understand what this company does. So clearly they're doing some good for the world. I just don't really fully understand it. That's all. Aside from that, I think I don't know. What was I just going to tangent off into? And I forgot now. I don't know.
So, the graduation caps.
Oh
yeah.
How many like 9th grade students do you think you could just like take the GED would pass?
A lot.
I do too.
Probably a fair amount.
A lot.
Right. And that, I don't know if
yeah,
that's
probably
like-
70%. Is this multiple choice?
no, I don't think anybody's ever done that.
But the
It's a
GED
life
test
hack.
is.
It'd probably be
Joe's
bad
life
for the
hack.
educational system.
It's Joe's life hack.
The reason I asked that is because like my mom and I were just talking about this the other day is my mom got pregnant with me when she was really young and she had to drop out of high school, right? So she raised me for a couple of years, wanted to go back to school. She wanted to go to college, but she was like, I got to take the GED. She just went and took the GED. Like she didn't even study for it, just like passed it and then went to college. And I'm
That's
like,
pretty wild.
why are we sending kids to school for 4 years to give them a piece of paper when they could probably pass it? I don't know.
Listen to me. The only way.
I don't want to.
Yesterday, I figured out a little bit of why people should still go to school. The internet was down in all of Columbus for AT&T users from
People didn't know what to do.
1:30 till like 2 and sometime in the morning. And we played categories. We played Scrabble.
I
couldn't get a text through for like, especially AT&T, even the
There's
wireless.
something
I think
really
everybody went
nice
to
about
wireless
that,
and
though.
broke it. But so I don't know if the internet's not there. I don't have much of a resource. I have to go back to encyclopedias.
Yeah, but no offense, man. If the internet goes away, we got bigger problems than you trying to figure out what dinosaur name is something.
I know most of those.
I'm just saying, like, your
Pterodactyl.
banking is done.
That's what you know,
Everything's done.
No, I don't know any of them. I was just trying to think. I know pterodactyl. I know Tyrannosaurus Rex. I know.
Stegosaurus,
Ooh,
Brontosaurus.
thank you. I didn't know that one. Brontosaurus.
Rhinoceros.
What's the mean ones from Jurassic World? The
Raptors.
Yes. But I don't think that's what they were
Velociraptors.
actually called.
Velociraptor.
Velociraptors.
Velociraptors.
That's it. They were really good.
All right, enough with the dinosaurs. Jesus.
Yeah.
Anything else? We got any news articles? Anything we want to cover? Anything coming up? Ted, you
Oh,
got
I have a
DCA? You wanna
meeting
talk
in
about
6
that?
minutes.
Yeah. So I have DCA coming up from the 19th through the 25th. I'll be down at the Distribution Contractors Association in
Where's that?
Miami, Florida this year. Yeah. So I'll be down there.
Miami.
Spending some good time with our friends who we got to see this past week as well. Eben and then Rob and many other.
Who's Bob Rob? Who was that? I have no idea who you're talking about.
Don't get mad. It was funny.
I don't know. I swear to God, I'm not even trying to pick on you.
McDonald.
Darden.
Darden. I was going to say
wasn't there
McDonald.
last
Why did
week,
I get
though?
McDonald from?
No,
Oh,
but-
Rob McDonald. Ew, McDonald.
Eben was.
Bob. Sorry.
Lumberjack Joe. Why don't you go out back and finish splitting your wood for the day?
Dude, why are you picking on my shirt? You dress like a 14.
End of series, Dexter Joe.
Your name. If anybody would like to criticize anybody's dress, please look at the picture of all three of us in DC. Just Teddy had on, what were they called, Chad?
Oh, you had SBs on. Tan and
Yeah.
gray SBs.
Skateboarding.
I like those shoes, actually. The sneakers. I want a pair of
It's
just
not-
like those, the black
not with
They
a
were
suit,
super
though.
comfortable.
They are. I just,
All right, we gotta go. I'm done with you two.
he hurt his foot. Leave him alone. It's a
I
Marine.
can't-
Hurt his
I'm
foot.
going to go to Joe's house and while he was asleep, cut the skin off the back of his heels.
On the way in, you'll be like this.
listen,
On the way
I
in,
don't
you'll be like
ever-
this.
Listen, I don't
Right,
ever
so-
want to hear you talk about being a Marine anymore when a blister puts you on your ass for 3 days.
Oh,
Another
he said
bad
another
word.
Dutch too.
Another bad word.
I'm firing on all cylinders today.
It was a
I gotta
rough
go.
blister.
I've had enough of you two. I spent 3 days with you last week in person. We gotta go.
I need a break for a month.
I need a break. I'm taking a week off.
I resemble that comment.
Anyways, it was fun. It was good. Now we're back at it. Now we
Isn't it
actually
crazy how
work.
expensive DC is, though?
Oh
Or
my
any
God.
major city now.
Any
Any
city
major
is.
city is like that. But it's
It's
just,
the most affordable thing with the scooters.
yeah, that's
It's the most affordable.
next time I'm gonna park in some lot outside town, take a train in, and like it's
When I had to take
Ted, you
a,
remember
when I had
this?
to take a Uber to Capitol Hill, it was like $20. Oh gosh.
This cost us $160.
yeah,
Bar taco.
that was a weird experience.
This
Anyway,
place-
let's go home. I'm going home.
Horrible restaurant. Don't get the duck tacos. They're gross. Ask Teddy. About 6 orders of them.
Okay. Great.
Well, he didn't intentionally.
Yeah. the ordering system was a little flawed.
I
There was a struggle that ensued there. We lost.
Bottle of
mean,
wine
I'm
came
surprised that
last.
we got even a third of what we ordered
The
correct.
bottle of wine came last.
That is true as well. Chad took it with him.
Oh,
I
you
did,
didn't
in my
go. You
pocket.
didn't go with us, but Chad and I went to a sushi conveyor restaurant.
Yeah.
That was
That was
pretty.
weird.
But
and
Joe
awesome.
loved it because literally he sat down. And he goes, "Wait a minute, I can eat right away." And
So great. That's the only amazing part about it is like food is just constantly going by you. You're like, you don't even have to order anything. And there was a robot that delivered our drinks that spilled everything.
it was like,
It would be like, and the drinks would just spill all over the place. Great.
"All right, I gotta go."
All right. Thank you guys. Remember, click like, subscribe, share. Doug,
Please
leave a
don't.
comment.
Just move on. Just okay.
Bye, guys.